I'm going to talk about some finger exercises that I like to use in the beginning with my beginning students. Actually, I like to use these anyways with some of my other students. So I'm going to just talk about some of the first ones that I do, and then Keith is going to demonstrate some of the ones that he also does. And I have a screenshot of some of these, and Keith may share with me some tabs later that I'll include a link to, or you can screenshot, or requests from me or from him. So um, even if I have somebody who's already been playing for a little while, I'll often do these with them also. So I used to call these exercise one, exercise two, and then I had a student who was like, "Yeah, I learned that already with my old teacher," and he called it the moonwalk. And then so I took his idea, and then I started doing. I started naming them like the tarantula, and I they were kind of kid friendly descriptions of what they were. So the first one I do, I call it the moonwalk, and I just use my first and second finger. And I always tell my students also, if you played piano, this is your first. You have to make it clear that this is not their second and third finger, like if they're a
Yeah,
piano
I just
player.
had a student today who was talking about how he's also learning piano right now at the same
Oh
time as he's
God.
learning guitar, and he said, "I always get so confused." Yeah, this is finger one for piano. Oh, and that's a thumbs up apparently in Zoom. But this is finger one on guitar.
Yeah.
So, and then
Yeah.
there's
And
no the thumb isn't the thumb is just, I guess it's T, right, on the
yep. Yep.
notation.
Uh, and also, like, kind of similar to what you just said, sometimes I pick up the violin and I start doing guitar fingerings when I'm looking at the notes. And then it's like I have to shut off one switch in my head and turn on another one. Sometimes when I'm switching between instruments, like I'll do the fingerings for one instrument on the wrong instrument,
And I don't know how you do it. It's impressive.
So here's the moonwalk. I use my first and second fingers for this. And I usually don't tell them about pick direction. I have I don't know, Keith, what you think about this, but I occasionally have a kid who naturally just does all up picks. Like
Oh, I
one
haven't
out of
had any of those.
I don't know, like I've had about three of them over the years. So I don't talk about alternate. So I do that one week, and then I do the super moonwalk, which is the second and third fingers. I just encourage them to do it on any fret. I usually I call this skinny to fat to skinny. Move up a fret. That's how I describe it. So I end up on fat, up a fret, and then I do the super duper moonwalk, third and fourth fingers. And a lot of times I tell my students, I say, you've never done anything useful with your pinky till today.
Right?
Unless they're a piano
Well,
player.
or you use it to pick your nose.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Perfect size. After I do those, I usually do something I call the tarantula, which is just a combination of all of them. Oftentimes I start this up high, like 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yep.
I might not start it. It depends on how how much dexterity the students have, how much experience with other instruments. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all down picks, and then finally, I'll do one more. I just call it the retreating tarantula. Complete opposite, 4, 3, 2, 1. For reasons that I'm not completely sure of, this is always 1,000 times harder. Removing your fingers,
Yeah, it
you know.
is.
And I don't know, sometimes I try to get them to put down all four fingers and then lift them up one at a time. Sometimes I give up on that and I just don't care and I just let them do whatever. Because you kind of got to pick your battles.
Yep.
Um, but my cello teacher was really particular about me. If I'm using my fourth finger, I got to keep them all down. And sometimes if I want an extra challenge with a student with one of those, I might do like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if you've ever done this, Keith. You can comment on what you think, but I do like one. I don't know. I do 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yep.
right, and then I just move one. I just move the
Oh, I
finger
haven't done that.
that needs to. So that adds a little level of frustration and challenge. So, Keith, actually, you should try. Wait, it's way harder to go fat to skinny. Let me try it again. So just move the one finger. So this is like really, it's a finger exercise, but it's also a finger independence, finger control
Yeah, right.
kind of thing. So
I gotta
actually, yeah, can you try that before you comment
Ooh.
on what you have?
Oh, that's a lot of difficult. Oh my god. I feel like a beginner now. Wow. Oh yeah, you gotta arch your fingers. My second finger wants to go with my first.
It's harder.
Oh my god. Ugh.
So
I
give
feel
that
like if I'm trying to throw a ball, I'm right-handed. I feel like if I'm trying to throw a ball lefty, it's
Yeah.
just something's not working.
You know what? Talk
That's
to
a
me
good
about it.
one.
Talk to me about it next week or in 2 weeks when you've given it to some of your high flyers, and tell me how it went.
Well, see, the thing is, I have to give it to myself first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Oh,
So
speaking of that, when we get off of this, I want to show you another crazy finger exercise that I don't want to talk about in this one
oh
because it's
sure, yeah,
way
yeah.
beyond. So yeah, what do you think? What do you have that's different for right at the
Well, it's,
beginning, or
yeah.
what?
So there's some overlap for sure. But one of the things I tell my students in the beginning is, because a lot of times, so one of the first things you need to be able to do is build up those calluses, right? And and of course it's difficult. There's the stretching involved in addition to building up the calluses, and you have to stretch a lot more as you get closer to the nut, right? So I'll just tell my students, if I'm just doing one of these simple chromatic, I'll say start higher up on the neck, someplace in the middle, not too high where you feel really scrunched, but not down here because here you have to really stretch out your fingers. So I'll say, maybe seventh fret, ninth fret, somewhere around there. Just start, and I'll say, just do all downstrokes. I, like you have, I have not had any students who would naturally do upstrokes. So if they did, I guess I'd say that's fine, because I like to focus on one thing at a time. So in this case, it's a matter of just syncing up the finger with the pick, right? The left and right hands, and just getting a feel for, the most important thing is clarity of note, right? So you want to have, the way I explain it is, if you play a note and it can ring for a while, that's going to be a clear note. And so there's no race here, right? So just make sure you're getting a nice, clear, clean note, right? And then I have had some of my students, when working with finger independence, on your way up, as you go to your second finger, leave the first finger down, third finger, leave the first two down, fourth finger, and so on. And then, of course, in reverse, going. So when you go down to the next string, you've got all four fingers down to start, right? And so on. So that's one approach that I'll take. And then I'll start with the up down, the alternate picking, so and so on. And then I have this exercise that I can't claim this title, but it's called the spider exercise. I learned it. I don't know where I learned it from someone, and it's probably called spider or other names of the same exercise, but. So I'm doing I'll do first and second fingers on one string, and then third and fourth fingers on the next string up, and then I'm on that next string up for the 1 2, and then I go back down to the previous string for the 3 4. So you're kind of working in string pairs at a time. Then you go up, so that's the first set would be 6th and 5th strings. Then you go up to 5th and 4th strings, right? And then backwards. I'm not very good at it. So on the way down, it's 4th and 3rd fingers on the upper string, then 2nd and 1st fingers on the one below it, and then 4th and 3rd fingers on the lower string, and then 2nd and 1st fingers on the upper, and then you move down to the next pair of strings. So you're doing pairs. You're not just doing like 6 and 5, then 4 and 3. You do 6 and 5, then 5 and 4, then 4 and 3, and so on back.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, new students tend to want to, look down at their fingers, really analyze what their fingers are doing. So they probably have a better vantage point when the finger is like closer.
Mm-hmm.
So far closer, higher up the neck means sort of closer to your eyes. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make a difference. Although I feel like, students are often kind of craning their neck. Not a great thing to do, but I can understand the beginning. Needing to do that.
Sometimes when students have
like more craning when you're kind of
when you're looking over.
Yeah, when you're looking, you're kind of looking. If you're looking down, which is this is a habit that I try to get my students to break early on. To some degree it's necessary, but looking down at your hand while you're playing. If you're not familiar with the instrument, of course you have to look down to ensure that you're actually playing. If you can't rely on your ears right away, then you have to rely on your eyes, and you want to make sure your fingers are, your finger has to be, so close to the fret without being on top of it. If you're getting a dead note sound, you want to look and see, well, what's causing that? Is another finger getting in the way? That kind of thing. But aside from those things, I try to have my students, as much as they can, not look down. First of all, it can, it can hurt your neck and your back, and it's not great for your posture. But second of all, you want to be able to start at some point, kind of using your mind's eye to see what you're playing, as opposed to physically looking down. But that all takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So until that stuff develops, I can see how just looking down at your fingers when you're, say, around the 7th, 9th position is easier than going over here where you gotta sort of crane your neck and as well as bend down. So
I've had students. I had one student that would look at the music, and this was a violin student. He'd look at the music and he'd play correct note, correct note, correct note, correct note. Look at his fingers, wrong note, wrong note, wrong note, wrong. Look at the music, correct note. He was like 100% accurate or inaccurate, depending on if he was looking. And I've also told students, I said, asked them to walk. Yeah, I say just walk across the room, and then I walk, and I'm like really looking at my legs and picking them up, and moving with my hands, moving my legs, and I say, this isn't how you walk, right? So you don't have to look at your feet. You just
and so they've all learned how to drive, and so I'll often use driving analogies and learning how to drive, because it's something that's kind of that everyone has learned how to do, and it takes some effort to learn, and it's something it's in our memory. You don't remember when you first started walking when you were really little, but you remember when you first started driving. So I'll use analogies like that, and how and different things, like you were talking about walking. When you're driving, you're not looking at the end of the hood of your car. You're looking ahead, and I'll use that when you're reading music as you're playing,
Mhm.
you don't want to be just looking at the note that you're playing. In fact, you don't want to be looking at that. You want to be looking at the few notes that are ahead of you, kind of like you're looking at the few cars that are ahead of you on the
Mhm.
highway, let's say, you know.
Yeah.
Look at where you're going, not where you are.
Yeah, I talk about car stuff too. I talk about like I want to learn how to drive the car first. But I'm not going to teach you how to like change the oil yet, or like change a piston. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, those are
like
those are not necessities, immediate necessities.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
And everyone wants to be able to drive fast on their guitar, you know, but
yeah,
that's the, that's the quickest way to get frustrated and develop poor technique, you know.
yeah,
Everyone needs to. I mean, even a seasoned musician should be practicing slowly at times. You know,
mhm.
that's something that we all need to do.
Great. I think that's it. And I thanks for doing this, Keith.